Hello everybody, this is Dumpster Cat. Welcome back to another video. In this one, I have a pretty spicy selection of a variation of BGX midrange that I've been working on as of late, and having a lot of success. As you can see from the title, I've gone 9-1. However, that is only in the tournament practice lobby, not in actual leagues. So, that says a couple things about this deck. While the matches were played in the tournament practice lobby, where most decks, or not most, but there's a higher likelihood of people just playing their own brews, what they think is fun, may not be too in the meta. There's some earlier concessions. However, I just wanted to get this data out there because there were a good few matches where I played against decks like Greasefang, Control, Phoenix, where I did have a lot of success, and the matchups felt really nice. And just the cherry on top was that I was able to have success against the other random decks, and I feel like that's pretty nice, kind of a nice theory to have when you're establishing a new deck or trying to test out a new deck, is if you could beat the random other decks that people are trying to test out on their own. I think that's a good standard to get, and then once you're able to pass that and then go into the territory of testing with or against decks that are in the broader meta, then that's when you could really find out if your deck is really good or not. But yeah, I just wanted to make that clear to everybody before we get into the nitty-gritty of the deck tech. And so now, obviously Gitrog Monster is kind of a fan favorite card that a lot of people have been enjoying in Pioneer, when it was in Standard, of course, and kind of went off the map in terms of people brewing around with this card for a few different reasons. The most important being it's a bit too slow, although it is a 6/6 body for 5 mana. Getting there in the Pioneer format nowadays is quite not very feasible, especially with the amount of aggro decks, combo decks in the format. And as well, if you're able to land a Gitrog Monster, say on turn 5 or turn 4, the amount of value that he does establish for you, when compared to a deck like Monarch Green Devotion, is just kind of laughable. Although you're able to draw cards, get extra lands onto the battlefield, establish certain loops with other cards, he's just kind of a bit too slow and doesn't really impact the board enough. And although he does have a 6/6 body, a pretty nice body, he doesn't attack very well, and the decks that he usually slots in tend to go a bit bigger than himself. And so that's really where I kind of got thinking about this card, is what if we put Gitrog Monster as just the head of the deck, the top end of the deck, and then we just play a general mid-range plan with a very light lands matters theme. And so that's where I got going with this deck. I love Tireless Tracker, as you may know if you watch the videos. I think Tireless Tracker is very powerful, and then alongside Gitrog Monster, he's just obviously very insane. I guess she is just really insane with the Gitrog Monster. Same thing with Nissa. This is a card I used to play in seasons past with a lot of success with her. She's really easy to flip with the 26 lands we're playing in this deck, and being able to create tokens, getting value with her plus ability is just really nice. And quite often you're going to be searching that forest you're going to be searching up is just going to be added value with your trackers, your coursers, and your Gitrog Monsters. And so, we have the monsters, we have the Nissas, the trackers, and the the coursers are really, really important for this deck. They're great against aggressive decks because she allows you to gain life, and then is really great value alongside Gitrog Monster, alongside Tracker, alongside Nissa, and then, of course, the Advocates as well. And so I've kind of placed those, here, let's go, like these 15, you could even put the Grazers in there, these 17 cards, put them in a shell that best suits very traditional BGX midrange-esque. And so we'll see, we have the 4 Fatal Push, 4 Thoughtseizes, going with the 4 trophies instead of 3-3 split of Trophy and Decay, just because I think with this deck, because we're going bigger, we just want our removal spells to hit each time, and so Trophy is going to be very important with that. And then, of course, Liliana the Veil. Liliana is a card that may seem a bit not very cohesive with the rest of the cards in this deck, because typically you want to be going, if you're playing a lands matter deck, you want to get as many lands into the battlefield, and your resource denial kind of mitigates that. However, because our strategy is more so along the lines of being a mid-range deck that has lands matter elements rather than a lands matter deck with mid-range deck elements, Liliana is very, very good in this deck, and she's been very powerful. So I really like this kind of disparity or dichotomy of these 17 different cards in these two piles, where you do have a lot of flexibility with your removal, because black-green colors in this format do have the most premium removal in the format, I do believe. But you also have the best of both worlds with this really, really kind of value down package with these lands matter cards. And so before we get into the matches, I do want to note very quickly, Grazer is most definitely the weakest card in this deck. However, it kind of operates on a unique axis of being able to get out turn 3 Lilianas, turn 3 Trackers and Coursers and Nissas if we need, which is very, very powerful in this format, and is going to be better than, say, like an Elvish Mystic or Gilded Goose, because we want lands onto the battlefield. We want lands being in play as our main source of ramp. And so, although Grazer is definitely really, really bad in the mid to late game, I still enjoy him as a 2 of right now, but I could be opening to, say, just putting like in the 4th Courser and the 4th Tracker in place of him, just because he's a little weak in that sense. Quickly going over the mana base, of course you gotta play 4 Passage, and then only going with 4 man lands with alongside the Sylvan Advocates. I do believe that you have to play at least 26 lands if you're gonna be playing Advocate in your mid-range decks. And obviously the 26 lands is very, very cohesive with the rest of the deck, so we don't really have to worry about that. And so I think Advocate is obviously, you may want to play more main lands, but my theory is that we just want to be as consistent as possible. And so when we're playing more either tap lands or these very fast lands that only come into play untapped on turn 1 and 2, it's just not very cohesive with the rest of the deck, wants to be more mid to late game oriented with all these 3 drops. And you're probably not even going to be playing 6 of your 2 drops on turn 2, because they're going to be removal spells that are probably going to be better later in the game, especially with Trophy. So that's my theory behind just the 4 man lands, and then of course the 4 Field Passages is very important. The rest of the mana base is pretty stock. I'm just playing the 2 extra Llanowar Wastes just so we have enough colored mana, because this deck is very, very mana hungry, especially having the Lilianas in there makes it a lot more mana hungry than if we didn't. And lastly, with the sideboard, I've been liking the sideboard, very much focused on beating up against the aggressive decks and the combo or the graveyard oriented combo decks, so like Phoenix and Greasefang, because if we get to the mid to late game, we're going to be winning anyways, just because we have such a good engine with Gitrog Monster, with Trackers, with Coursers, and then even with Advocates can be really nice beaters in the late game. So I'm not really worried about matchups like Rakdos Midrange or any control matchup, because we're able to go longer than them with this deck, at least from my testing as of late. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know there's kind of a bit of a long deck tech, but I wanted to get my ideas out there, although maybe I was a bit rambly a little too often, so I hope you understand that. But just wanted to get my ideas out there, because I do feel like this deck could have more success I will be playing leagues with it in the future after I release this video, so be on the lookout for more content with this deck, because I really do believe that this deck has some promising capabilities in the format. If you like Gitrog Monster, tell me, and comment your ideas down below about how you think about this deck and your own success with him, or unsuccessful events with him. But yeah, so before we get into the matches, just want to say a quick thank you for all the support lately. I've noticed there have been like a few likes on like every video, and so if you're one of those people who likes every one of my videos, just know that you're very important to me. You're very keep me going. So I really appreciate that. Even if you don't like the video, if you just like the content and you're just watching my videos, like that's the most I could ask for. And so added on top of that, if you want to subscribe, go ahead. If you do want to like the video, then go ahead. And then I love to chat up with you guys in the comments, because I love sharing ideas and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously thank you very much, and I'll see you in the matches. And so here we are with the first match. Obviously all these are going to be in replay format. This first match is up against Abzan Greasefang. I'm only going to be doing commentary over 3 of these matches, and I'm just going to be putting out the footage for the others, just because 10 matches for commentary is a bit too much for me. So we had to mulligan. Our first hand just had 6 lands and a grazer is not good enough. But turn 1 we do see a traverse for a plains from the opponent. So pretty clear that's going to be Greasefang. We just hit him up with the Quagmire. They go with a Raffine's Informant, putting that Parhelion into the graveyard, and then we're able to draw into a Thoughtseize, which is very nice. And then we see a hand, pretty powerful hand, with Greasefang, Command, Thoughtseize, Can't Stay Away, and Sky Sovereign. And so my plan here was to, I noted that they didn't have black mana yet, and so my plan was to just take the Greasefang, and then hope they don't get the black mana for Can't Stay Away. I should have instead taken just the Can't Stay Away, and then left them with the higher costed, less efficient Greasefang, and that would have been better with they would have one less use of the Can't Stay Away. So a bit of a misplay there. However, it's just not going to matter because they're going to top deck a Concealed Courtyard, and then I just concede because they get the Greasefang into Parhelion very cleanly. So that was a bit of a non-game. They just got us turn 3 there. However, that's fine. That's how Greasefang is. I'm fine with that. Post sideboard, we took out the Lilianas. Obviously Liliana not being good against, or allowing the opponent to just discard their vehicles. Also boarded out 2 Grazers, an Advocate, 2 Nissas, Gitrog Monster, and and just 1 Gitrog Monster. Just because I wanted to trim around the edges. Grazer and Nissa probably the 2 most, or 2 least impactful cards right now in the deck, so they're very easily trimmable. And then brought in all the graveyard hate, so we see the Cage, the Lantern, also brought in the Scoozes, and the Weathered Runestones. So feeling pretty confident against the matchup, or in the matchup post board, because we do have all this graveyard hate. They have a Thoughtseize for a Cage, which is fine, and then we Thoughtseize them, seeing a pretty weak hand with just triple Informant and then Sky Sovereign. So I just take 1 Informant, and then I play out the Lantern, exiling it away. Then they play their Godless Shrine, go into a Raffine's Informant, and then they're able to discard their Sky Sovereign, which is fine because we have the Lantern. They don't have Greasefang yet, so feeling okay. I went with the tracker here, just because we didn't have any other play. Obviously, I've been preaching that you don't ever want to be playing turn 3 tracker. You always want to be having a land after you play her. However, just because we didn't have any other play, we don't want to just do nothing, so we had to play her out there. They play their second Informant, discarding Grizzly Salvage. They attack We just take it, I believe, yes. Do not want to be trading with the tracker. We play our Fabled Passage. We don't play the second tracker. My theory behind this is that I just want it to be as safe as possible. We know that they have this Sky Sovereign in the graveyard, so if they top decked a Greasefang, we do have the Lantern for it. However, my philosophy behind the Greasefang matchup is you always want two ways of being able to disrupt their combo. So, here we have the Lantern and then also the Decay, which is, very nice. We just end up cracking a Clue, going into a Scavenging Ooze, and then here I'm like, okay, because we already have the Lantern and the Scoos, they're very likely not going to be having two ways of interacting with us. So say like they have like a command, they would need like with the Rim command destroying the, or no, that wouldn't even work. I was thinking they would need a command to destroy this, mill over a, or no, yeah, that would work because they could destroy this, we would exile in response, which would get rid of the Sky Sovereign, but they would need to mill over like a Parhelion, hit their fourth land, and then, they would need to mill over Parhelion plus Greasefang, get their fourth land, do Can't Stay Away on the Greasefang to get back Parhelion, which is just, I'm not playing around that, that's way too tedious. So I just do it like this, play out the Scoos. They just have a third Informant, which is completely fine. We just take this damage here, and then they play the fourth land. We crack a Clue to start, we see a Courser, and then we're just going to be passing the turn for quite a while here, because we do have the tracker as a 4 toughness blocker, now 5 toughness. They do have a chariot, which is a bit problematic. However, because the tireless tracker is so big right now that it's not too much of a problem, and we have these decays stored up. So even if they want to create more tokens, which they do here, we're just able to decay the one that they want to copy to get them less value, less power on the board, and then we're able to just eat up the chariot and then eat up an Informant, go down to 4, which is a bit risky, but I think it's fine right now. They just can't stay away an Informant, which are just exile, just because the Lantern wasn't really doing any other abilities with our Scavenging Ooze in play. And here I just start by attacking, play out the other Scoos, keep the tracker as a blocker. They hit the Greasefang, which does nothing right now, and then they just concede. So there, you may think that I got too aggressive with attacking here, but I knew I had extra life gain with the Scavenging Ooze, and it had one extra piece of removal for the creatures. And I didn't think that they were going to be attacking anyways, so I just went in there, put the pressure on them, and we got there. So for game 3, didn't change anything post board. We see a keepable hand. I love having access to removal and then 2 pieces of graveyard interaction, so this is pretty much just a perfect hand. A little slow, no discard, which is a bit unfortunate, but I'm not complaining because we do have some nice cards here. They start out with getting a Greasefang in their yard, plus a Can't Stay Away. So I'm a little worried, so I'll just go out with the Weathered Runestone turn 2 instead of the Scoos, just to get the guaranteed lock piece, the first lock piece out there. Then I'm able to establish 2 lock pieces here. They've pushed the Scoos, so I just exile the Greasefang, which is fine. They played nothing, which is great for us, and so from seeing that, I just go out with the tracker plus land, knowing that they probably don't have anything, but if they do, then we know we have the Runestone to protect. They do have just a hardcast Sky Sovereign, which is okay, but we untap, draw land, play Lantern, and then hold up the trophy if they have the Sky Sovereign mana, or Sky Sovereign crew ability, which they end up doing, or being able to have because of this Night of Autumn. I think they made a mistake here of going after the Lantern instead of the Runestone. Not really sure why you would take the one-time piece of interaction instead of the interaction that works all the time. So I was a little confused there, but luckily for us, we were able to just trophy the Sky Sovereign when they crew it up, and feeling pretty good, have a nice amount of lands, still got that lock piece in hand, and then we're able to go with the tracker here. I didn't want to play out the Gitrog monster just because, as I've been saying, we always want 2 pieces of interaction for them. So we have the Runestone, and then we're holding up Trophy for any potential combo shenanigans, just because I want to be as safe as possible, because again, this deck excels in the late game, so if we're able to get there, then we're just feeling really, really good. So we just crack a clue on their end step, and then we're able to play out another monster, or the first monster. We drew at the second monster, which is a little redundant, but it's okay. The best part here is we're just able to hold up the trophy with the, or alongside the Gitrog monster. So they make a pretty strange attack here, with going with the chariot. Not really sure what they want to be doing here. Maybe they were just getting a little anxious and we're just attacking for no reason, because we just get to eat up the chariot and the token. And they just decay the tracker, which I didn't know why they did, why they didn't do pre-combat, but it's okay. Here we're able to just get card draw off the Gitrog monster and that clue, and then hold up just a plethora of removal spells if they have anything. They salvage into not much, traverse for a Murderous Rider, and then they're going to cast the Swift End, which is fine, knowing that we have the second monster in hand, so I think that's fine. And then we just remove a couple creatures from the board. And then we play out the second Gitrog monster, just showing the power of this card. They have a Refine's Informant, which is fine. And a Decay for the Runestone, so I'm a little scared because of that. If they top deck a Greasefang, then we're a bit in tough shape because they do have Chariot and Sky Sovereign in the graveyard. But it's mostly okay, and we're still able to accrue a lot of value with our removal spells in hand. They did take one of those spells with the Thoughtseize, but still feeling fine, and then them not attacking kind of solidifies that notion. So we draw into a Courser. We're able to push the Murderous Rider because we sacked a land from the Gitrog monster, which is kind of a cute interaction there. And then we're able to attack with the monster because we've established another blocker, another piece of value, and we're still holding up the Decay for any other Greasefang shenanigans if they top deck it. And here we just go in with both, feeling very confident with the Scoos, which we play out, and then we just hold 4 activations plus the Decay, which ended up just being able to lock out the game for them, or for us, I guess, against them. So pretty, although, besides the game 1, turn 3 win for them, we had a pretty demanding, or pretty convincing matchup against them, I feel like. We have so much nice interaction and then so much nice sideboard slots against them. I think we're really kitted up well against them, and then this makes me feel like the Phoenix matchup is very nice as well, because obviously both of them are going to be graveyard combo-oriented decks, so yeah, feeling pretty good with this game, or sorry, with this match number 1. Alright, we're here for the second round. So this one is up against Blue-White Control. I'm just going to let it play out because this match was only 1 game. It just went super long and our opponent lost time on their clock, and so they couldn't play games 2 and 3, so we did end up winning just the 1 game, which ended up being the match. We have a decent hand to start. Always like having Thoughtseize in the blind, and of course are obviously nice value later on. We see a hand, a pretty good hand, mana a little awkward. However, here I'm just going to take I believe it's the Absorb I take first. Let's see if this is going to keep running or not. Portable Hole also obviously not doing much here. Oh, I do take I took the March. So I guess my reasoning behind that is we're going to be able to get Courser out before they have enough mana for Absorb, and it's not even clear that they will have mana for Absorb with just the irrigated farmland. And so we do take the March because it's the only removal spell for the Courser. We draw another Thoughtseize, which is not a bad draw by any means, and we're just able to take the Absorb, and we see they have a veto, and then they foretell the Saw coming. Draw another land, which is not the best, but thankfully we're still able just to take out this, play out this Courser here, and then just pass the turn to our opponent, who probably is not going to be doing much with this hand that they have going on here. I think another reason why this game went quite long is obviously the opponent, like as you could see here, they took their time with their decisions and just passing through the turn. So perhaps they're doing something else while playing. But we had a pretty slow start, which is typically when I'm playing typical mid-range decks, that's usually I'm a bit afraid of having those types of starts against control specifically, because I guess I'm just used to wanting to be really aggressive against control before they could resolve like a Teferi or a sweeper. So I was a bit worried, but they fortunately weren't really doing much. Just fielding our lands, that's fine. We see more lands on the top of our deck, which is a bit scary, but we do see the extra Courser, which is not bad. And it's not the worst thing if we just have this passing situation. If they don't hit into a Teferi or Memory Deluge is not as good as Teferi, but still a little scary. So there's that. However, here we're able to lay out the Courser, which is nice. And then they finally use their Saw coming. So get that out of their hand. A little unfortunate, but I'm still okay in this situation because we do have our man lands. We're able to actually kind of messed up there. I accidentally clicked through our attack stuff, but we're still able to get out our Sylvan Advocate, which plays really, really well with our 3 man lands here. But unfortunately, they just have the portable hole for it, which we already knew about. But still, we're able to attack in, which is really nice. Always love being able to attack each turn against control decks. So they trade with the Quagmire. We were able to run out another Advocate, which they have a second portable hole for, which is a little sad, but it's okay. And then we get the veto out of their hand with that Thoughtseize. And then they field our Quagmire, which is fine. Still have the layer, which is the most important one. We do see the Decay in hand, on the top of our deck, which is obviously does not work with Hall, which is a bit unfortunate because it says non-land. But it does get rid of Portable Hole, which we will be doing on their end step, I believe. Here we can attack them with the layer because they're holding up the Hall. And they have this Emperor, which is a little annoying. They're able to make a plethora of tokens, but we do get the Advocate back. We attack both at the Emperor, which they just jump both with their 1/1s. However, we do get to resolve the Leyline Plus, which is very nice, very important in the matchup to resolve these big impactful planeswalkers. And then we get the Nissa online, which is just even more added value. And we're able to trophy the Hall of Storm Giants upon activation, which is always really a nice choice. And they just let the Wanderer die with just another in hand. So still kind of okay with these trades, although they seem to be a bit in the control player's favor because they do have the late game inevitability. However, we're making really nice trades with those blocks, even though they had the Doomscar. And I still like this scenario because we have our Planeswalkers online still. However, they did top deck a Teferi, which is not the best. So we're definitely needing some support here. And we do draw Fatal Push, which allows us to clear the way to attack into the Teferi. However, they do still have the Castle Ardenvale, which is a little annoying. I think they actually messed up there. They didn't block with the token. I think they were supposed to. Yeah, we're still just drawing a bunch of lands, which is a little unfortunate, but again, I think it's okay right now because we do still have the Nissa online, but still a little problematic. Definitely need to be drawing into more cards, and we just get really lucky there, drawing to Liliana, and then plussing with the tracker. And what I like about this scenario where they're having to make, castle tokens or use their mana otherwise, is they're not being able to escape or flash back their memory deluge, which would be really bad in this scenario. And so here they attack out our Liliana. I just didn't block the token basic because I thought they had I forget what I thought they had, to be honest. I think I should have just blocked. I think that was probably correct, just to block there. We're able to get a lot of value with their trackers, or their tracker, singular tracker into the double tracker, and then we finally get a Gitrog online, which is really good. And this is why I was holding up the Fabled Passages, even though we didn't have any basics in play, because we do still get the value of the Gitrog monster being able to sack the lands, even though we can't find any in our deck. And actually, that was a pretty neat line of so the clause is whenever one or more lands are put into the graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. So Gitrog kind of conveniently works really well alongside Liliana, being able to discard extra cards to still get value. And then here they start attacking us, which is a little problematic. Here we're trying to draw into a removal spell, which we don't really hit, unfortunately. But we're still able, we're still at 14 life, which is fine for now, and we're gaining life off the courser. Again, just trying to find a removal spell on the top of our library. Additionally, it is worth mentioning that their clock is still going down here, so they weren't F6 through the turn, which contributes to them not being able to go to any more games. So D-Sphere on the tracker is pretty good, but obviously we still have the monster to get us more, to draw into more, or a removal spell, I should say, which we do eventually see. Yep, with that trophy on top, we're able to take out that Typhoon token, and then we're in a pretty good shape to win from here because we drew it with the second trophy for the Teferi. So even if they had enough time on the clock, like if this was a real paper game, we would still be advantaged for the match and for the game as a whole. And so I think this matchup, or at least this game, is pretty exemplary of the amount of value this deck could get compared to a control deck, which obviously wants to go late in the game. I thought this was pretty exemplary, an exemplary representation of how this game could, or how this deck could go really late in the game with Gitrog Monster, with Courser, Tracker, even Advocate just being really nice attackers. Late in the game, we saw Nissa do really well alongside Liliana. That interaction with plussing Liliana and getting, still getting value off of her with the monster is really nice. And so I was really happy with this. Pretty unfortunate that we didn't get any more games against the control player, but still really, really happy and I thought this was a pretty exemplary occasion for how this deck can really value out your opponents, even if your opponent wants to go long. Alright, we're here for the third match. This one is going to be up against humans. We did have to mulligan, which is not the best, but it's fine. So we take a Thalia out of their hand with our Thoughtseize turn 1, which I believe to be correct. You know, in these types of scenarios against aggro, we just really want to, if we see a Liliana in our hand, we really want to be able to turn 3 Edict on them with 1 creature in play. And so obviously Thalia not enabling us to do that very efficiently is a little problematic. However, here we're able to swing with the Advocates and then do that same thing I was just talking about, which is very nice. And then play out the tracker, get the clue token, and here we decide not to plus because we had the Courser in hand. They do hit a company on some pretty good ones, double Thalia Lieutenant on the battlefield, and then Thalia Guardian of Thraben. But it's okay, you know, we still have nice blockers, and we're able to take the third and final Lieutenant out of their hand, and then plus the Kudra out of the hand, which is really nice as well. Here, I just allowed them to take the or kill the Liliana, just because I didn't want to risk anything with them possibly having them like a pump spell. So I just let it go through, which is fine. And we get some kind of value with Grazer, although Grazer is like not the best. And then I just really like this scenario of Abdicate just being really nice attacking and defending at the same time. And then obviously with all of our land drops in the early tracker, we have a nice array of clue tokens here. And it is worth mentioning that the Courser is gaining us a lot of life. We see a trophy on top, which we do want to try into, just to get rid of pretty much just the biggest creature that they have. And here they have this new King Darien card, which is pretty good right now. And then we make them trade their Igonjo and a Lieutenant for an Advocate, two Advocates, which I was fine doing. I think that trade is worth it, especially in a scenario where we want the board to be smaller overall. You know, obviously on their side, but on our side as well. I think that's okay, just going into the late game. But here we get a second tracker online, which is really good. Or sorry, third tracker online, which is really good, enabling us to gain more life. Just basically, just being able to prolong the game even longer. So I kind of wanted to attack there, but still thought that just going longer into the game was going to be okay for us, because they could double block. Especially knowing that we have a Gitrog monster on the top, and surprisingly they actually just conceded to that. I guess it was too much value for them, and they probably knew that we had the value game plan pretty locked up, especially that they want to close out the game early on. Here we did have to mulligan again, but to a pretty nice hand. I forgot to show you the sideboard game plan, my bad. I like, obviously, I trimmed a bit around the edges with this Nissa. 4 Thoughtseizes had to go out, and then I brought in the 3 Witch's Vengeance and the 2 Noxious Grasp, being pretty premium removal against them. Here we could see the sideboard game plan going into really nice action with us being able to bring in the Witch's Vengeances, which, although we were able to take them down in the first game without these Wrath effects, I still find them pretty necessary. Just because this deck does struggle to get past the early game. So we see the Shaper Sanctuary, which is quite problematic for us. However, with the Witch's Vengeance in hand, it's not too bad for now, which we're able to sweep the board with. They get pretty sweet value here with the Specialist being able to bring back their board from last turn. However, we have removal spells in hand, but with the Sanctuary out and drawing the Gitrog monster, I just want to prioritize getting it out while we could. Pretty much just as a nice blocker. So we grasp the pack leader there, which I think I probably should have trophied the Sanctuary first so they wouldn't get value. Grasp the pack leader, and then play out the Advocate thereafter. I think that was probably a bit poor sequencing on my end, but we still get to attack with the monster and then have blockers up if we needed. They ended up attacking there, which I was a bit afraid they had a company into trying to hit lieutenants. So I just let the damage go through, and anyways, like we were still at a really high life total, and we could swing in with all of our creatures, pressuring the opponent even further, and we still had the trophy in hand, so didn't really see the point in blocking at all. Just wanted to get the damage in the turn thereafter, and then I think they saw the Witch's Vengeance on top. I think that made them concede the second game. But even with that, I feel like the aggro matchup is pretty nice for us. As I said, post sideboard, we do have access to these really premium wrath effects against humans. Obviously, with this deck, spirits and elves, I guess it would be another one. Goblins isn't really like that prominent, but Witch's Vengeance does have like other kind of niche scenarios where it's good. Sometimes you could bring it in against mid-range decks, just to get like a 2-for-1 against 2 other creatures is usually pretty fine, and sometimes I'll do that, but mainly for the aggro matchups, as I mentioned. And I think this one, like the last match, is pretty exemplary of our ability as a late game kind of value town deck to still be able to control the board with our early removal spells. This is why I like this setup so well of being a lands value town deck, lands matter value town deck, kind of mixed in with being a mid-range deck, with having access to premium removal spells really, which are going to be really nice against these interactive matchups, matchups where you have to be interactive. They really, really shine, and so I think this matchup was pretty exemplary of that. Alright, and so that concludes the commentated gameplay portion of this video. I will be playing the rest of the matches, the rest of the 7 matches that I have stored for you guys, with no commentary, just because I don't want to be doing that much commentary. But I will do a quick summary. So we played against mono red aggro, mono green aggro, blue white control with Leyline binding, blue white Ensoul artifact. Our only loss, which was up against mono green devotion, which if we're gonna lose against the deck, then I'm fine with it being mono green. I think that makes sense. That's fine. Then we played against Grixis control, 4-color humans, which you saw, and then green white tokens, blue white control again, which you saw, and then Greasefang, which you saw. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoy the rest of the gameplay. I've been really enjoying this deck. I hope you guys could have similar success to it if you want to try it out. To me, Gitrog Monster is just a really insane card. I think obviously very underexplored in this format. Works really well alongside Tracker and Courser. I think even if your opponent kills Gitrog Monster, if you have, say, a Nissa, a Tracker, or a Courser on the battlefield, you're already going to get so much value out of just casting him. And if your opponent obviously kills him, then you're still going to have really nice other forms of card advantage in the form of Tracker, Courser, and Nissa, as I said. Other really unique things that came up in the gameplay going turn 3 or turn 2 rather, Liliana, Tracker, Courser, or Nissa off of Arboreal Grazer actually came up a notable amount of times. I don't want to base my conclusions about this card just off of those, probably like 3 times it came up, where it was really nice. However, I do think that Arboreal Grazer is probably, maybe the correct slot with these, the kind of just like he's kind of filling up the 2 flex slots in this deck right now. As I said before, you could play just the extra Courser and Tracker in place of him. However, I think I like the flexibility that he kind of represents in being able to ramp. He's a good blocker in the early game, chump blocker if you need to, and just added synergies that you may not expect typically with, perhaps getting your 6th land on turn 5 for Sylvan Advocate, getting your 7th land on, say, like turn 6 for Nissa, being able to flip for her, or even just getting like an extra clue token on a turn or extra life gain on a turn could be pretty notable. And so I like the Grazers for now. But let me know what you think of him. Sideboard was really nice so far. I think just like aiming the sideboard toward the graveyard matchups and the aggro matchups is pretty much all we need to do for this deck. Like theoretically, a sideboard is meant to strengthen your weak matchups, right? So I think just being able to have these cards for aggro and then these other 7 cards for graveyard combo is like perfectly fine. Only played up against Greasefang. It was our only graveyard deck that we played against, at least according to my notes. Unfortunately did not play against Phoenix, which is what I really want to test against, but I think that's fine. Perhaps could even just get rid of this Garrick, because he's probably not too necessary for us being already like a really value-oriented game plan for game 1. But yeah, like I said, hope you enjoyed the rest of the matches. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your guys' thoughts about this deck. Consider subscribing and liking the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.